Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Love, Lies, and Lace Fronts, where we do reactions, reviews, and commentary on the YouTube channels you love to watch. Guys, today we have a little bit of a treat. There was an interview you may or may not have seen in the last, I would say, I guess 8 or 9 months. There is a podcaster journalist. Her name is Janine Sparrow, and she had Shirley on for a chat during the time that her husband, obviously, you know that her husband, Ernesto Williams, is in jail at the moment in Cobb County for charges that he is currently facing in the county of Fulton. And Shirley was on a podcast, Fearlessly Authenticity with Gene Sparrow. And let's get into it, guys. Gene Sparrow is a well known journalist, broadcaster in the Chicago area. Apparently, her and Shirley have crossed paths once upon a time. So, you know how we do it here. This is a reaction to a video. We are going to make stops, we are going to talk over, and we are going to have a conversation. So, if you would like to watch this video in its entirety, you are welcome to do so. But here, this is how we do it. Okay, guys, welcome, welcome, welcome. If you are new here, make sure that you are subscribed to this channel so you can jump into the chat. And let's go ahead and do this.
Remember her from her days working with Doug Banks on WGCI's Banks and Company, and over 7 million people in our country listen to her now on the #1 syndicated morning show in the US, the Steve Harvey Morning Show. She is also a proud wife and mother. It is my pleasure and my distinct honor to welcome to the Fearless Authenticity Podcast a woman that I have looked up to since I moved to Chicago, the one and only Shirley Strawberry.
Hi, Jean. How are you?
I am good, girl. I am so excited to talk to you. How you doing?
I'm doing really well, thank you. I have a little congestion. Unfortunately, I like to be clear when I'm doing these things, but it's okay. But other than that, I'm fine. I'm so excited to be here with you. You know, it's a mutual admiration society because I just love you so much. We never really got to work together because you came after I had left Chicago. But you know, just great things about you. Whenever I got the chance to come back home, I would always listen to you, and I just love you. I admire you, and you carry on the tradition well. I mean, Chicago women in radio are something special. There's something special. I mean, you know, from Yvonne Daniels, if people remember her, Mary D. I mean, the list goes on and on. Wanda Wells, you know, so many great powerhouse radio women out of Chicago, and you're one of those women. And you know, I just love you, and thank you for having me, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I was so happy when we got a chance. We co-hosted an event for Barbara Bates Foundation in the fall for breast cancer awareness, and it was so nice to connect with you and finally get a chance to do it. And I'm honored that you mentioned my name with women that I listened to when I came here to go to college, and I was like, oh wait, maybe I could do that for a living, maybe because I was doing my little radio show in college, and like, this is fun, but can you really make money at this? Can you really have an impact and a thing? And that's, you guys showed me that was possible. Yeah, I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, no, we don't make as much as the men. Got to point that out. Got to point that out. That's an ongoing struggle, fight, war, battle. But yeah, you can make a couple of dollars at this. Yeah, and it's very.
So, did you hear that? I think we've talked about that a little bit. I know that there have been some debates. Clearly, the money is not the same for the men as it is for the women, which is really unfortunate in 2023. But that was interesting to hear that comment being made so openly. So interesting comment, but valid comment and definitely worth being said. So but apparently, so Gene and Shirley have crossed paths. This is an interview, and they're both in radio. Gene is from Chicago, and they do some work together. They have some overlapping, but Shirley is here for an interview. It's just interesting. She mentions nothing about Ernesto. Obviously, there's a time and a place for what she has going on to even discuss a matter as, you know, as complex as what she has going on. But sis is cool as a cucumber and really didn't. I mean, it's interesting. This video was posted, and if you actually go to her Instagram, there is a post about this happening, but this actually was on February 2nd, where this was posted to Gene's YouTube, and it's got 135 views. Clearly, this has been off the radar. But this was featured on Shirley's Instagram. I just don't know how. I mean, obviously, that really didn't, maybe Jean is bigger in other places. She does have a pretty good Instagram following, but her YouTube following, it's been here. That's my point. Anyway, let's keep going.
Very rewarding because it's so much fun. It's so much fun. It really is. It's
Well,
a great gig. You can get it.
You bring up something I was going to talk about anyway, so we may as well start off with that because
okay.
One of the things that, and I'm gonna tell you a little story to lead into it, because our industry can be challenging. Many industries are challenging for women, and ours in particular, because especially when you entered, and even at the time that I entered in the early '90s, it was still very much a boys' club, and it still is very male centered. But I remember, Karen Lightfoot, producer
yes.
At GCI, said
used
to
be
me,
my producer. Yeah,
exactly. So we shared her at one point, and there was a time when Karen said to me, when I was doing traffic and I was trying to do more things, she said to me, "Listen, Jean, there's only so many opportunities that happen for us as women in this business." She was like, but we always have the power to make it what we want it to be. And she actually used you as an example. She said, "You know what? A lot of times this secondary role can be a range of things, from a feature person to a sidekick to a co-host." She was like, "You want to do it like Shirley did it." And at the time you were Shirley Clark. She said, "You got to do it you got to work it like Shirley Clark did." She said, "Shirley is a co-host because she brings something to the table that is just as important as the main host, who the powers that be may value more, but you are just as valuable. And without you, that show can't happen." She said, "That's how you work it." So the question I have for you, especially as you've seen the industry change a little, how did you deal with the reality of the opportunities that were available to you at the time when you entered the business? And how did you make it the best it could be, where you now sit and co-drive a show that is listened to nationwide? Like, did you see that trajectory for yourself?
Well, you know what? First of all, shout out to Karen Lightfoot, one of the dopest producers in the business. Yes. But shout out to Karen. But I didn't necessarily see it at the time, but I knew that in order to make some kind of inroad or stride in the business, you had to just be the best you could be. And not only be the best you could be, you had to make the lead of that show. You had to make him look good at all times. You had to be his alley-oop person, the yin to his yang, whatever, you had to think, you're the one that had to be on point because they're the star of the show. They're crazy, they're wild, and, but you have to make sure that that show hits its marks and do all of those things. So, I'm not going to say the job was hard or anything, but it was challenging in that sense, because you had to make sure no matter what, he looked good. It's not about you, Shirley Clark, at the time. It's not about you, it's really about him. And this is his show. And in that, you'll be able to shine because, there's no denying that, somebody has to be the glue and the sensible one in the show, Somebody had to do it.
And some of us sit in that seat pretty well. We've both done that with Steve, me here with him locally and you there. Yeah. I learned a lot from working with people. We worked with a lot of the same folks, Doug Banks and Tom Joyner at the same station, and Steve. And, I'm going to tell you, all of those guys taught me a lot about how to do my own job. What's the biggest thing working with these larger than life personalities? And holding your own next to them and watching them do what they do. What's the biggest thing you've learned from them? The biggest lesson about maybe life or work or whatever? Because Lord knows, meeting Steve in my mid-20s, like I feel like a lot of the stuff that ended up in his first book, he tested out on me because I was going through all of that. Like he was like, "No, Gene, you got to think like this. You got to do like this." And then later, somebody asked me, "What? Like, are you going to get the book?" I was like, "No, I lived it. What are you talking about?"
I was in the writing session, so I understand. Yeah, it was, what the biggest lesson that I learned from Steve, let's start with him, had nothing to do necessarily with radio, because he'll tell you when he first came in that I taught him radio. They brought me in his show based on the work that I did with Doug in Chicago. Because Steve was wild, Steve was wild and crazy.
Girl, we tried.
So,
we did our best.
They brought me
him
in. Oh, he's still every day, every single day, right? So, but the biggest lesson I learned from him had nothing to do really with radio. It was about me personally, and he taught me a lot about confidence and commitment and the strength of a woman and knowing your value. He taught me things like that, because single parent, I was raised by a single mom, so I didn't have a dad in my life. So Steve was like that big brother, that uncle type. So I will say that he taught me more about life than it was professional. Now, you know, of course, when you talk about TV and things like that, and I mean, he's the ultimate professional when he wants to be, you know, because number one, above all, it's the jokes and it's the funny, because he's a comedian by, you know, that's his excuse me, that's his trade. That's his profession. He is a professional comedian. So he loves to make people laugh. So, I mean, yeah. And I love for him to make people laugh. And I love that our show makes people laugh as well. But, you know, other than that, yeah, I would say it's the life lessons that I learned from Steve more than anything. And that's what I'm most appreciative of, because he would sit and talk to me for hours about stuff like that, you know, money, all kinds of things, you know, a wealth of knowledge from him.
I told Steve, I ran into him. We did something for the station locally here. You know, how you do the stuff for sales folks and everything. And we ended up moderating it. And it was the first time I'd seen him in years. And I told him, you know, he introduced me to my financial planner. And he sat down when I was, and my mom had just passed, or had my mom passed at that point? I think it was right.
Guys, we're going to advance a little bit in this conversation. I'm sure you know why. So this is a great conversation. I definitely highly recommend you go back and visit it. But we're going to jump around a little bit. We're going to jump to right about the 20-minute mark and get into a little of the juicier parts.
You know, you get out there, you service the people and you go on with your day, you know, so that's why. And then, you know, I'm going to go back to something we did talk about earlier. We talked about money and how women don't make as much. And so every time my contract came up, I was in a fight to the death to get, you know, a few extra dollars here and there. And one time I was threatening to quit really badly, but my mother told me, God rest her soul, that my grandmother told her, if you can't make a dime, make a nickel. So that has driven me. You know, if that has driven me, you know, if you can't make a dime, you got more. You didn't get what you wanted, but you did get more. So if you can't make a dime, make a nickel. Okay.
And I love that. I love that one, because when I first started, I remember it reminds me of something an older entrepreneur told me, or more experienced entrepreneur told me. He was like, you know, when you talk about having people invest in your business or partnering with people to do things, and you fear about giving up something or whatever, he was like, remember that 20% of something is better than 100% of nothing.
There you go.
That sounds exactly. But I love that. You know, if you can't get the dime, get the nickel. Because
yes,
was that why you were looking for the ticket agent job, because you needed some more money?
Well, you know, because I was so angry, you know, and I was so mad. It was like, no, they're not going to do me. Like, I'll just quit. I can do other things, you know, all of that. And then when I started comparing the two, I was like, nah, I don't think I'm built for that. I'm just not built for it. You know, I'm not built for that. So that's how that happened. Yeah. But so, yeah, I took the nickel instead of the dime. And here I am 100 years later.
Right. Rubbing together way more than just a couple of nickels and dimes. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say right now, sister. But, you know, too.
But I mean, the funny thing for me is this. So this was posted on February 2nd, 2023, right? What we know is what was going on in January is that Ernesto is sitting in Cobb County. She is under very hard financial times. She is sitting over there at Tasha's house. This interview is, you know what I mean? I don't want to say it's bogus, but it's kind of bogus because she's sitting here by this beautiful artwork. And, you know, she is, you know, it's unfortunate because she's going through a lot at this moment. And she's sitting with someone who respects her very highly. And they're laughing about, you know, or, you know, they're reminiscing and having a good time about talking about old times early on in their career. And Jean's making the references of making money, but you know, Shirley might be making money, but that money is going out the door because due to this man on the screen, her husband, she's in a financial situation that is quite tough. She's in a personal situation that's tough. Her man is behind bars in Fulton County, well, in Cobb by way of Fulton, and dealing with a lot. And none of this ever comes up in this interview.
I remember there was a time in my career, and I used to tell people, because I was working so many other jobs so that I could afford my rent and to do other things, to do my radio. I used to tell people that little remember temp agencies and stuff? I was always at the temp agency. And but one of my friends was like, well, you know, you on the radio, why you? Because listen, that's supporting my radio habit. Okay.
Yeah.
And then it flipped. But I remember Bonnie DeShawn,
Oh yeah,
saying
my
to me
girl.
one time, right?
Hmm.
One time
Hmm.
saying to me, she was like, girl, listen, it's a gift when you could pay your rent and your car note off the same check. She was like, sometimes you got to split them. And it's all about perspectives. And I've always had somebody there to say something like your mama said to you that her
Uh-huh.
grandmother said to her.
Hmm.
And those moments are so, so important. And you give out a lot of good advice too, Miss Strawberry Letter. Even wrote a book about it and had podcasts
Yeah,
about it and things.
I did.
And you're kind about it. It's no nonsense, but you're kind, and you hear some crazy stories. What
Oh yeah.
other than the dime for the nickel, what's
Uh-huh.
the best advice you've ever gotten? And then how do you use that to approach giving advice? Because you do it on a regular basis now.
The best advice I've ever gotten was probably from my mom. And she just, I was going through a challenge. I was having my daughter at the time, and I freaked out totally because, I have that claustrophobia, anxiety situation going on. And I just freaked out. I freaked out. I mean, really, in the delivery room, I couldn't take it. So my mother, like grabbed me and was like, look, where is your faith? Where is your faith? And so when she said that to me, something clicked in my head, and it was like, you know what, you're right. You can't talk about having faith and, doing all these things if you don't exercise it in those trying times, in those challenging times. And so that was 25, 26 years ago. My daughter just made 26. And from that day to this, that always drives me. It's like, where's your faith? Are you going to step out on faith? And all this. So basically that's it. My faith is really strong. And you only need the faith of a mustard seed, right? The size of a mustard seed. So yeah, that was that was really good faith. I mean, really good advice about faith that my mom gave me.
Listen, God only needs us to love him a little bit, and he'll
Yeah,
do
yeah.
the rest.
Are you guys noticing? I mean, look, not that it's a bad thing or anything, but it just Shirley being the sharp dresser that she is, I'm just wondering why she chose to not dress for this interview, why she's wearing a hoodie. I mean, it's quite casual. Now she's got the beautiful piece of artwork behind her, so you don't really notice it, but it is kind of, I mean, it's noticeable, like I'm noticing it. It's just a little odd that, for an interview with an industry partner, who she's known for many, many years, and she's showing up to her podcast. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it's just interesting. But anyway, so she was talking about anxiety and claustrophobia. I didn't know that those were things that she suffered from, but let's keep going, guys, because it is going to get a little juicier.
Right. Once I realized that,
girl, I had that baby like it was nothing. After she told me that, because it really clicked in my head. It's like, yeah, this is it. You can't talk about faith and do all the and say you're this and you're that, and then when the time comes for you to do it, and then you're a punk, no.
How does that play out though when things happen? Because I know a lot of times when we have a crisis, or when we have those moments like you did in childbirth, which is a life-changing, life-altering, painful situation. But a lot of times when we hit a crisis, we do forget our foundation sometimes because it feels like it's been swept up from under us. Do you have any sort of ritual or thing that brings you back to remembering where's my faith?
Yeah, not a ritual, not a ritual, but I will say this. You know how people say breathe, breathe, breathe. I actually do that. I actually try and center myself and take a couple of deep breaths, because I mean, we're in this business. We talk to people all the time, but we still get nervous. We still, we're still human and all of that. I was nervous about coming on your show today. So, I was, but you was, but you have to just take a moment to breathe. You have to just, it's going to be all right. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't take yourself so seriously. Take what you do seriously, but don't take yourself so seriously. It's okay. It's okay. Even if you make a mistake, that's okay too. That's okay. Well, in today's society, if you make a mistake, you might get canceled, so these are different times, but you got to take that moment. That's what I do. If I'm just really, really, like frantically nervous, I'm going to just, okay, wait a minute now, just breathe. And then you'll calm down. You'll calm down a bit. So that's it for me.
Is that how you approach giving the advice that you do with the strawberry letter? Like, do you ever look at that and go, what am I going to tell this human
all the
being?
Time? What? Your husband did what?
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
That's so funny that she would say that. Your husband did what? Like, Shirley, your husband did what? I mean, really?
One thing about the letters, I always say, first of all, they're not made up. First of all, people think they're made up. They're not made up. No.
Nobody could make that up. I listen,
even
as a radio vet,
imagination. Yeah.
I know how to tell when something's made up. And I was like, I would know, none of us would ever even think of that.
Yeah. Well, how could you? You can't make this stuff up. And so, you approach it and it makes you feel like, okay, well, my life isn't this. It might be this, but it's not that. Okay. So I really try to, to figure out some way to help these people. I really do. This is not my particular situation, but let me try to, really look at these people and see if I can help them, and you know what? I'm going to tell you something. That's how you mentioned Steve's books earlier. This is how Steve's books came about. Because when we were doing the strawberry, excuse me, I told you I'm a little congested. When we were doing the strawberry letters every day, what we noticed was just a pattern of women who had low self-esteem, who had, excuse me, who didn't know their value, didn't know their worth, and to be quite frank and honest, I was one of those women. There was a time when,
Do you see how her friend looked like, oh, you had low self-esteem, didn't know your worth? I mean, okay. Like, that happens to a lot of people, but I think that the reason why, and we've talked about this on numerous occasions, for Shirley even to admit that she has low self-esteem, she didn't know her worth. I mean, I feel like that's a reoccurring theme because only a woman who would allow an Ernesto to come, stay, park, live, all of the things in her life, that's got to be the case. Like he's a total nightmare.
I had no confidence. I had low self-esteem. I didn't know my value, my worth. I didn't. So maybe that's, some of why I can take these letters and get in these women's heads and figure out what they're thinking and how they're feeling and try and help them. Maybe that could be, one of the reasons. But I honestly want to help these people if they can help. But yeah, there are lots of letters that come in and I don't know. I have no idea what to tell you, lady. There was this one woman I remember. She she had this dress on, this wide dress at the bottom, and it was windy this day and the wind was blowing and she never wore underwear and the wind blew her dress up and she was just out there for all the world to see. Now, what am I going to tell her? You knew you had on a big dress. You knew you didn't have any underwear. You knew the wind was blowing. What am I going to tell her?
Man, that was a choice. That was a deliberate choice. Whether you admit it or not, that was a deliberate choice. And there actually some things there are no answers for, right?
And I don't care. Put the panties on,
even a tongue, ma'am.
Okay, but what was the point in the letter? Like the lady said she had the dress on, her dress blew up, she had no underwear on, and what? What was the question? What should I do? How do I get over being embarrassed? I mean, okay. What was the point in that? But yes, to Jean's point, that was a choice.
Something.
Do something down there.
And what are you writing us about? What are you writing us this for? It's just
because she wanted you
but
to
anyway,
know.
Yeah, we get some crazy letters. But yeah, I think, life experience, you do bring life experience into these letters. You have to. There was a point where, between marriages, how can you, people would say, how can you, Shirley, give advice? You're not married or you've never been married or blah, 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 blah. Well, that's exactly why I can, because I can tell you, maybe now from my bad marriage to this marriage, what.
From her bad marriage to this marriage. So from one bad marriage to, my opinion, another bad marriage, but okay.
What I did to contribute. I didn't blame anyone else. I looked at myself. That was, a lot of deep self-searching and all of those things. So yeah, life experience a lot of times is, what we do with those letters. We're not psychologists, psychiatrists, anything like that. We just try to give common sense advice. What would we do in these situations, basically?
But the thing that's beautiful about that, because that's kind of at the core of what I've realized with Fearless Authenticity. And now that I'm thinking about it, I think that this journey that I'm on now kind of started with Steve, because Steve was like, you the gift, you're the one. And I think many of us in the business, especially as women, because we get beat up so much, that many of us have these moments of, even if we have good self-esteem, we may not know our worth because we're not paid our worth. And when we ask for it, we're told we're not worth it. And all those things. And we equate that worth with our value, and it gets all twisted because I've had those challenges as well. And even though people find that hard to believe, because we still get up and smile and get in front of the camera or get on the radio and do that job, they don't realize there are other things.
Fake it till you make it.
What does
and we
it
look
mean?
good doing it. Yeah.
Right.
We try to look good doing it. Yes. All of that.
But what does it mean to you to bring your whole self to your work? Because that is something you've always done. You've been really honest, and especially on Steve's show. And I think Steve also encourages and allows that space for it to happen, but it's also your choice. And I think there was a point in time, especially when you first started in the industry, because it was still like that when I was there, when many of our colleagues wouldn't share anything about their personal lives for fear of being seen a certain way.
This is really the irony in some of this conversation. She's talking about fearless authenticity and Shirley bringing herself to work. And Shirley has kept a secret for almost a whole entire year from the audience doing the strawberry letter. And no, this was not a case of fearless authenticity. It was a relentless cover up to me.
Way or wanting to be seen a different way, and what they had.
And to the point that, well, why would she bring that to work? Why would she tell that? Well, I mean, she didn't have to, but I think to the point of the strawberry letter, to the point of being questioned, the rumors, all of the things that were being said to her face behind her back about what was going on with Ernesto. Look, she had the option to not say anything, and she exercised that option to not say anything until she was forced to. So now it's damage control. But just, what I think is interesting is that there's these interviews, there's these articles, there's this Instagram feed that shows someone who's happy-go-lucky, just living her life. Meanwhile, cars are being seized. She's taking phone calls from prison. She is dealing with putting money on books and commissary, dealing with a husband who is under some pretty horrific charges, and living a life and a lifestyle that I think most of her audience was shocked to find out she was going through.
Created. So what does it mean to you to share your full life with your audience? I mean, your husband now, Ernesto, proposed to you on the show, and that's still one of my favorite moments, Shirley, because it's our age, and it's still that love and the I mean, girl, like literally, like you live in dreams, ma'am. But what does it mean to bring all of that to your show and your public life?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say this. I don't share.
When was the right moment for her to say, he's over in Cobb County right now. He is facing a litany of charges. I mean, obviously there was no right moment to even talk about that, but my God.
Share everything, because my mom always told me, you don't have to tell everything, Shirley.
Okay.
So, you do keep some things for yourself, of course. But I mean, because we are the people that we broadcast, that our listeners, we're them. We're them. We just have a different type of job. They're going to their jobs. We're taking them to their jobs. We're at our jobs. So it's like, I want people to be able to relate to me. And if they can't relate to me, then they won't listen. So you got to be transparent. You got to tell, about, if there's a letter, for instance, to come in about domestic abuse. I was in an abusive relationship. I can speak on that. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be able to relate to your audience, and your audience, of course, has to be able to relate to you. Otherwise, what's the point in listening? If these people are just going to be strangers to you forever, you want them to feel like they can come to you and talk to you, and, and all of these things. I'm them,
And I think we would all be so much better off if all of us brought a little bit more. Maybe not everything. You don't have to, like you said, some things are for you and for your private part. There is a boundary for that.
Right.
But I think a lot of times people forget that people just are people, and that whether we're working together at whatever our job is, or we're doing something where you're consuming the content we create, or listening or watching, or whatever it is you do, that we're just human too. And I love when we have those moments to be able to make that happen. And I wish, that's part of the reason why I do this podcast and why I talk about the stuff I talk about, because I feel like that's when things change.
There, and people, this didn't happen initially. You talked about that earlier. we're in the keep it real stage now, if you want to use that term, and that's what we try to do. We just try to be as real as we possibly can. That's it. Maybe not
Okay.
initially when we first got into the business, but be yourself, be authentic, be yourself. It's okay. It's all right.
Okay. Well, Shirley, when are you going to let her know in this interview that stuff's not going right with Ernesto, that things have gone really, really, really bad? Well, it's not going to happen.
And I think,
that's, go ahead.
That's okay.
No, I want to hear what you have to say, ma'am.
No. I mean, that was pretty much it. Be yourself, be more comfortable with yourself. And then I think that by doing that, then there'll be a lot more Gene Sparrows out there. There'll be a lot more Shirley Strawberries out there, and we can continue this cycle, just continue, raising these young ladies and, letting them be who they are and be confident and be strong. And, and it's nothing wrong with that. And that's what you want. That's what you want. It's so funny because when I see people, sometimes now people will run up to me and say, "Oh my God, Shirley Strawberry, I've been listening to you since I was a little kid." And some people will get offended by that. And I'll just say, "Are you one of my children? I raised you." You say, "Yes," so it's cool. That's a good thing. It's an okay thing. We don't stay young forever. We're going to age. My thing has always been age gracefully. Just age gracefully. That's it. That's all. Just age gracefully. Keep doing it till you can't do it anymore. That's it.
What are your secrets to aging gracefully? What are the things you tell yourself? Because you know what, I'm gonna tell you, the first time somebody came up to me and said, "I grew up listening to you," it was a shock to me. But then I realized, I was like, wait a minute, I was probably only a few years older than you when I was on the air, because I started when I was like 20, and I'm like, wait a minute. But now I'm responsible for having talked to a generation of young people.
Yes.
And like the weight of that, like even though I always wanted to put out good stuff, that moment, Shirley, was life-changing for me, because I was like, wait a minute, I've been pouring into people, young people, because you think about it, talking to people your own age, and you forget that kids listen to you. And that really changed, even though I think it didn't change the content of what I was talking about, because I'm still me. It also made me realize how important every word I said was.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at. You are raising these people. This is your purpose, your responsibility. And we make it sound fun, and we're on there, cracking jokes and laughing, but you are responsible. These people are listening to you. That is, that's heavy. That is when you really think about it, so while you don't, you just want to be responsible, and all of that, still be authentic, still keep it real, keep it 100, all of that, but know that you still have a responsibility. Are you their parent? No, neither is a teacher, that when they go to school, neither is she, but there is a responsibility. They have to teach that student, and we have a responsibility as well, so when I am speaking, when I am on the radio, my audience is always in my mind, because I do radio as if I were a listener, you know what I'm saying? Okay. And I can tell you're in radio, so what will the listener think? I can say it this way, but it may get a different or better reaction if I say the same thing another way, because you always have your audience in top of mind when you do radio, because you want them to be entertained and, like I say, informed. You want them to be.
And your service in our industry, I think, has always been, because you.
Okay, guys, we're just jumping ahead a little bit to another section. We're getting close to the end of this interview, but Jean is going to ask Shirley if she can share a situation that she's never told anyone before, maybe like, kind of like a secret. Can you share with us something that nobody knows? Tell us about it. And then she's got a couple more questions that I thought were really kind of interesting. So we're gonna listen to those as this loads up. And I just want to say, if you are new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. These chats are subscriber only. So if you are not subscribed and you want to be able to jump in the chat, that's what you need to do. And make sure to set your notifications so that every time I go live
and watching
post
them
another
do what they do. What's the
video,
biggest thing you've learned from them? The biggest
you
lesson
will be
about
notified immediately. Let me get to the right spot.
Not a good person.
Shirley Strawberry with the truth, ladies and gentlemen, with the honest to God truth. Lord.
Yeah.
Shirley, it's like that heart of service is a very different approach to life.
Yeah.
And I always wonder, what happens to make it missing sometimes for some folks. So I always like to ask for the
Yeah.
people who it's so present.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be upbringing. It could be just, you're just selfish. you're just not a good person.
Shirley Strawberry with the truth, ladies and gentlemen, with the honest to God truth. Lord.
Yeah.
Shirley, listen, girl, I have 2 questions I always ask people as I wrap up the podcast. So the first
Wrap it up.
is,
We just
I know,
here.
girl, look, we've been talking for a minute.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yes. I love that it has flown by for you, though.
Yeah, it has. It has. It
really, you know what? Before I ask my last 2 questions,
I mean, all that talking to Ernesto
that nobody has ever asked you before that I haven't thought to ask you about today.
You can ask me, how does it feel to be a grandmother?
How does it feel to be a grandmama, a Mimi, a Mimi?
They call me Mimi. It's, you know what? It's the best thing in the whole wide world. When my daughter first told me she was pregnant, I thought I was going to die. I really, really did.
That was a test of that age and graceful.
I mean, can we just talk about this for a second? She seems really, really happy to talk about this, but based on what we know from the phone calls, she hasn't seen her grandkids. She's not talking to Sheridan. Sheridan's not talking to her. Sheridan's using her for rent. What is really going on? But you are the best thing that's going on is being a grandmother. Okay. I mean, but it's quite painful at this moment because you are not getting to be a grandmother because your relationship with your daughter is in the shits because of your husband. So,
huh?
Yeah, exactly. I thought I was going to die. And one of the first things I said to her was like, wait a minute, you don't even know if I was ready to be a grandmother. I'm not old enough to be.
Shirley, it didn't have anything to do with your daughter getting into the bed and what transpired for you to become a grandmother, but
grandmother. Turns out I am, though. Imagine that. But yeah, it's just so wonderful. I have a granddaughter, Jade, who's 7, and a grandson, Max, who's 5, and they're the joy of my life. That's all I can say. It feels wonderful to be a grandmother.
So do some math. She just said that her daughter had just turned 26 earlier in the interview, and her granddaughter is 7. So that means that her daughter got pregnant roughly, obviously a teenage mom, probably 18, 19 years old. Not the end of the world and definitely very common. So maybe she was mad from that. Well, I believe that she was. We'll let her tell the story because she's getting ready to talk about it.
And I can't see them enough. I can't hug them enough. I can't buy them enough. I can't spoil them enough. So yeah, I'm all in. I'm all in.
I want to dig into this a little more. Hold on, we're gonna talk a little longer now.
Okay.
because I feel like this is that tie into aging gracefully and finding and bringing into the world another generation and passing on and enjoying them a different way. How did becoming a grandmother affect how you saw yourself and how you move in the world and how you work and how you are Shirley Strawberry? Like it's this other identity that gets added on to who you are in addition to wife and mother and powerhouse on the radio.
Okay, Jean, you got me. Okay, full transparency. I was pissed at first. I really, really was. What do you mean I'm a grandmother? What? I can't be I'm too young. All of that. I did not. This is full transparency. Jean Sparrow. This might be an exclusive too.
Oh,
I did not even mention that I had grandkids on the radio for at least a year.
For at least a year. That long to make peace with that?
Yeah. For at least a year. Not because mainly, and my daughter will probably kill me, but mainly because I was ashamed because she wasn't married. I was embarrassed because she wasn't married. And, we weren't raised like that. So I had to grapple with all of those things, and then I had my mom in my ear. She was embarrassed because my daughter was with my mom for a lot of the time because our working hours are so crazy. So I had so much guilt. I blamed myself. Excuse me. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I blamed myself. Pardon me. I'm sorry.
You know what? Don't be sorry. You know what? You saying some stuff that's important. Take a moment. Have yourself some water, and we're gonna finish this part because I'm all ears. Everybody can wait.
Water.
Okay, this is interesting. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. So Sheridan just turned 26 at this time. She's 27 now, right? Jade is 7. So she had her daughter at 19. And Shirley at this moment would be married this year in January. She'll be married 9 years. So at this moment in February of 2023, she just celebrated her 8-year wedding anniversary with her husband behind bars in Fulton County, right? Well, with charges in Fulton, but sitting in Cobb, right? Her granddaughter is 7. So Jade was born with Grandpa Nesto or Pop Nesto, whatever they call him, right? Um, Sheridan got pregnant after her marriage to Nesto. Interesting. Interesting. I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how old I thought Jade was, and I really hadn't thought about it. But the fact that Shirley was like about a year into her new marriage with her husband, this dude, Ernest Williams, and her daughter gets pregnant and has a baby, and then has another baby. So in this very short period of time, this 8-year marriage with this man, your daughter has 2 kids, 2 baby fathers, you have a tumultuous relationship. Um Shirley really had her priorities messed up because your daughter clearly was acting out, showing out, reaching out for love and attention. For her to be a young lady that was raised by a grandmother with a mother who worked hard to support her. Mom goes, meets some man, marries him, and your daughter is left out here looking and searching, getting into relationships and having 2 babies back to back, 2 different daddies. And okay, so yeah, I mean, seen a lot of people say that Shirley was probably paying rent and all of the things due to mom guilt, and I can kind of believe that now because um just when your daughter got to be an age where you really, and you got to a point in your job where she could really spend time with her daughter, you got married to this guy and you've squandered, what I mean? It appears that money has been squandered. Um, Interesting.
Need a drink. No.
Maybe I should be sending people bottles of champagne to do this show
Girl.
with me.
Yeah. So it took me a long, long, long time, to embrace this. I'm like I said, I'm all in now. But yeah, it was a hard, hard struggle for me. And mainly I was embarrassed. What is everybody gonna say? And I usually don't care what people think about me. Normally I don't. Say whatever you want. I don't care. But this
I don't think that's true. Based on what we know from the phone calls, she cares. They care a lot. They think people are haters, people are jealous. I just This is really interesting conversation because again, the show is called fearless authenticity, and I think that this is Shirley's representative who showed up for the interview, because at the end of the day, what we really know in her private conversation, Shirley cares a lot what people say, and a lot about what people say dictates a good portion around what she does and what she doesn't do. So that's interesting. She cared a lot about what people had to say about her daughter. I don't know that it was she cared about being a grandmother at too young. I mean, the woman would have been in her late 50s when the baby came, or
this
early
particular thing
60s, and I think that that's kind of right on time. There's people becoming grandmothers in their late 30s. So um late 50s, early 60s. I mean, you're not too young to be a grandmother. You had your daughter in your 40s, right?
got me, girl. It really, really did because of all the ramifications. Because I thought, I guess that's selfish on my part, because I thought people would come to me, question my parenting skills, say that I was a bad mom, all, because
You felt like a bad mom because your mother raised your daughter.
I wasn't present in her life every day because my mom had her so much, so I had to deal with all that stuff. And it took me at least a year to even, I never even mentioned.
So she felt guilt at her daughter. She knew her daughter probably was out there getting pregnant, looking for love because of you. So I don't know that she felt selfish about her reputation, but she also knew that her daughter, um, probably this was some sort of a result of her lack thereof parenting, maybe the grandmother passing away, all of those things that got Sheridan out here looking, searching, getting into relationships, and now having babies. But what did that do? It didn't do anything because Shirley is all in with her husband,
Mentioned it. Now I'm still, it's slowly trickling out about my grandkids
who is obviously not Sheridan's father.
and how much I love them. But yeah, it took me a while. It really, really did.
How long from the time your daughter told you about it to when you got to where's the faith? That question you always ask yourself. How long did it take you from the time that she said that for you to remember that foundation and start to work through it?
Okay, in that particular incident, where's your faith did not come up. Sorry, it didn't. It didn't. It was devastating to me. I mean, I told you, I thought I was going to die. I really did. And I know a lot of people may not be able to understand that, and I get that. I get that too. But for me, Shirley Strawberry, the woman who gives the advice on the radio and all of this kind of stuff, and to have something like this happen, I couldn't. It was hard for me to deal with. It was hard for me to deal with, and it took me a long time, like I said, to deal with it. And it took a lot of prayer, a lot of forgiveness, a lot of, and meanwhile, I didn't mention her on the radio, but she was my love, my little beautiful granddaughter Jade. She was my love, but I just did not share her or tell, but yeah, that was a tough period. That was a really, really tough period.
Shirley, thank you for sharing that. Because you know what? Here's the thing I
You're
see
welcome.
in this. The thing I see in this is that it's a gift for those of us who struggle with things because like and I talk about this when my dad died. There were a lot of things I had to start facing about myself. I'm an adopted kid, and I had to start facing some things that I had put on a shelf. Things that you're like, okay, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna deal with that later. I'm gonna deal with that later. But here's the thing: God keeps bringing you back the lessons that you need to learn and the stuff you need to work through, and you finally have to face it at some point in time. And that mess will break you all the way down, all the way down. And that's what it sounds like. It sounds like this really wasn't about your daughter having a baby as much as it was about you feeling that way about yourself and judging yourself for the choices you had to make. Even though everything turned out fine.
Yeah, I had so much guilt. It was like, this is my fault. If I had been there for her, she would not have had this baby. All of those things. And you know what else it did? It made me go back and look at my relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
And while it was great, but in those crazy teen years, from about 15 to 18, when you're smelling yourself and you're thinking you're grown and all of that, I gave my mom, I gave my mom some problems, let me tell you. So I thought about all of that, I thought about all of that, all those years. And I said, okay, this is the deal. This is, so we worked it out. We've worked it out. But yeah, it was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle.
God's blessings on y'all for facing it and coming through the other side and sharing it. Because I think that's the reason why most of us don't face our stuff is because we're scared about it not working out. And it always does. And that's where the faith comes in. You have the faith that it will work out in the end. Lord have mercy. And you were supposed to tell that story today because that was a message, ma'am. That was a message. So now we can fall to my last two questions. I always like to end with, what is your proudest achievement and what do you still dream of doing?
Well, professionally, my proudest achievement or just in life?
Yes, either one, whatever you choose. People have always, some people choose both. If you want to do both, I'm good with that.
I'll say this. I'll say, I'm proud of the fact that, and we talked about this earlier, Jean, you and I, that I have lasted this long. I am proud of that, that I'm still here. I'm still relevant, because it didn't have to be this way, so I'm thankful for that blessing, that I can still do what I do at a high level. I'm proud of that. And I'm happy about that. And I consider it an honor and a privilege to be able to do it every day, so that's one thing in life. Just in life, I don't know that, I'm still here. I guess the same thing. I'm still here too. And I can still laugh and have fun and life is good. And, I'm a good person. I'm a good person. I'm a good person.
I love it. And I love that you
notice that if Jean hadn't mentioned Ernesto and the proposal, Shirley wouldn't have mentioned him at all. And she basically didn't. Jean mentioned the proposal and that was it. And she did not take the bait. Shirley went straight to another topic and sis didn't miss a beat. Okay. She did not miss a beat. And she was like, not today. Not, we won't be talking about him today.
You know that. What do you still dream of doing?
Oh my God. So many things. I'm starting to paint a little more. I kind of want I don't know, I kind of want my art to get out there. I'm feeling real artsy these days.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, so maybe that's it, you know.
Well,
Maybe that's it.
when you do your first show, ma'am, or your next show,
I will let you know.
please let me know.
Okay.
And so we will and maybe we'll have a whole other conversation about your art and your expression and how that works out, because that's a whole other track that I forgot that you were an artist too. Like, duh.
I didn't do this picture in the back. People will probably wonder if I did that, but no, I didn't.
Gorgeous. It is
Thank you.
And it doesn't surprise me that you're surrounded by so many beautiful things, because most artists do surround themselves with art that they love. And the last question, the last question I always ask everybody on the podcast: when do you feel like you are at your best, truest, most authentic expression of yourself?
Wow. Okay. That's good. That's good, Jean.
Thank you. I'm honored.
Yeah,
I'm honored because, baby, you've been interviewing people longer than me. I'm like,
that's good. And it's deep. And you know I'm not that deep. So I got to dig deep. My truest.
Shirley says she is not that deep.
With my friends, you know, we're sitting around and we're just kicking it and having fun and laughing and acting crazy. And, you know, no one's judging anyone. And, you know, we may talk about God in one conversation and, you know, and talk about, you know, I don't know, a reality show, one of the housewives shows, you know, just being, you know, we'll go from one extreme to the other. Just probably when I'm with my friends and my family, and I can be myself, you know, and kick it, maybe no makeup or maybe makeup. And, you know, I like that. I like being around people. I like that. I do. I love company. I love company.
I love it. Well, I want to be one of your company too, because it sounds like you like to kick it, and that's a good time. And anybody that can take from God to the housewives, baby, that's a full and complete life.
Yes, that's how I really relax, is Ratchet TV.
Girl, she relaxes with Ratchet TV. She must be all into YouTube then, huh? She really must. Okay, Shirley, Ratchet, the ratcheter, the better.
The better I like it.
All right, love and hip hop.
Yes, all of it.
The more Ratchet, the better. Did you hear that? Girl, Shirley loves some Ratchet TV.
That's how I really relax, is Ratchet TV. The more ratchet it is, the better I like it.
All right, love and hip hop.
Yes, all of you. Yes.
Shirley, thank you so much for making time and taking all of this energy to talk with me, especially when you're not feeling 100%. I appreciate you and the path that you paved for people like me and those who come behind me too. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Jean. It's really an honor. I mean, seriously, it's an honor to be with you. I mean, you make me proud. That's all I can say, is you make me so, so, so proud. You really do. And if I had any inkling, anything to do with that, then what can I say? I mean, you do it well. You do it well. Thank you.
Thank you, my love. I appreciate you. You're the best. You are the
No, you are.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that. Just a little bit of a different side of Shirley Strawberry, guys. We have seen all a lot, and no doubt that there's more. But this was a interview again from February. I think it was February 2nd, 2023. She would have never mentioned her husband had Jean not mentioned it. Shirley is with the shits. Shirley loves Ratchet TV. Shirley was put off, embarrassed. She said even ashamed at her daughter's pregnancy. She knew that people would have stuff to say, and didn't talk about it for a year. She didn't want anyone to know. I guess maybe that Sheridan was pregnant. I'm sure it had less to do with Jade, the granddaughter, and being a grandmother as much as it was that her daughter was pregnant at 18, 19 years old. Because I don't know, I guess she would have to speak to that. So, anyway, guys, tell me what you think down below. This was interesting, right? Make sure to comment down below. I hope that you enjoyed this reaction. And I will see you again next time. Take care, guys. See you later.